Hi guys, it's John here, and this is a battery drain test of the Galaxy S22 Ultra, the Galaxy S23 Ultra, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the Galaxy S24 Plus. So all four of these have a 5000 mAh battery. The S24 Plus has a 4900 mAh battery. We've got the Exynos 2200 over here, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and the Exynos 2400 over here in the S24 Plus. So we're going to run through a series of tests here to drain the batteries down to zero. Then we'll see exactly which one of these comes out on top. Now, obviously, the S22 and the S23 are a bit older than the S24 series, so you will need to just take this with a bit of a grain of salt. Obviously, these are a couple of years old now, but it's just whether or not you think it's going to warrant your upgrade from going from an older to one of the S24 series or not. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is a call test, and we're just going to run this for an hour and just see how much this drains the battery. We're also going to leave these two here on standby for an hour, and once we come back, we're going to swap the SIMs into here, and then we'll leave these on standby for an hour and just see how much the calls and the standby drains the battery. We will, of course, let the screens go off automatically because you don't normally have the screen on when you're in a call, so let's just skip through this and see how they do. One thing to add, I am going to turn off Wi-Fi on all of these phones to make it as if we are outside, and we'll come back in an hour and see how they're looking. Okay, so after an hour phone call on these three, we lost 3% on the two S22 Ultras and just 2% on the S23 Ultra. These on standby for an hour, they haven't lost anything yet, but from my tests, they lose about 1% per hour on average. So we're going to swap the SIMs over to these phones now, do the same test and see how much they lose. Okay, so these two have just finished their phone call for an hour, and you can see they've gone down by 3% each, and the standby phones went down by 1% each. So again, at about 1% per hour on standby. Right, next up we're going to do a video here. Right, so we're going to do a 30-minute 4K video, and then we're going to edit it afterwards, so we'll come back after that's finished. Temperature-wise as well, while we're here, we can see starting at the video recording, we're at 16, 16, 16, and the two S24s are on 18 degrees Celsius. Temperature in the room here is about 14 degrees, so it is quite cool in here, but we'll see whether this video recording and editing puts those CPUs up a lot higher. I have installed Thermal Guardian on all of these, and I've done a +2 on the thermal temperatures of the CPU, so they can get as hot as they like pretty much. So we'll come back in half an hour and see how they look. Okay, so after 30 minutes of 4K 30, we are down to 83, 82, 88, 89 and 88. So overall there, the S22 with the 2200 lost 13%, 14%, 9% on the 8 Gen 2, 8% on the 8 Gen 3 and 9% on the 2400. Now we're just going to apply a filter to these videos and let them encode. We'll come back once they've all finished. Okay, so there we are, the video render has finished. We lost 10% on the 2200, we lost 7% on the 8 Gen 1, 4 8 Gen 2, 4 on the 8 Gen 3, and 5 on the 2400. So massive difference there between the 2200 and the 2400 by 5%. The 8 Gen 3 finished in about 10 minutes, followed very closely by the 8 Gen 2, followed by the 2400, then the 8 Gen 1, and then lastly was the 2200. Okay, so next up we're going to go through a bit of Google Maps navigation. Now I'm not going to navigate anywhere, but we've got Google Maps open with the GPS enabled to get those satellites and be constantly running. So we're going to just check how much we lose after an hour of navigation with the GPS turned on. We're not really worried about where the map is on the screen. What I've done here is got the ClickMate app just to swipe up on the screen so that the screens don't go off. So we've got the screens on constantly as if we are navigating somewhere. Now these are just going to scroll to the bottom of the Earth. So we'll just end up with the sea here, as you can see, but that's fine. We just want to make sure that the GPS is on and the screens are on as well. Okay, so an hour of Google Maps and we have lost 12% on the 2200, 9 on the 8 Gen 1, 11 on the 8 Gen 2, 8 on the 8 Gen 3, and 9 on the 2400. Temperature-wise, 8 Gen 1 hottest here at 27 degrees. These two are at 25 and these two are at 24. So don't forget, we do have all of these set to 80% brightness and 2K resolution as well. So we're going to move on to an hour of scrolling through Twitter and then we shall come back and see how they look. Okay, so that's an hour of Twitter and we lost 9% on the 2200, 9% on the 8 Gen 1, 6 on the 8 Gen 2, 5 on the Gen3, and 7 on the 2400. So let's move on now to TikTok, and we'll have an hour of scrolling through here, and we'll come back once they've finished. Okay, so an hour of TikTok, and we lost 12% on the 2200, 14 on the HN1, 9 HN2, 7% HN3, and 9 on the 2400. Now we're going to move on to Instagram Reels, and we'll play this for an hour as well, and see how we get on. Okay, so now on Instagram, and we have gone down to 25 over here on the S22 Ultra, Exynos 2200, and to just 16% here on the HN1, 48, 58, and 49. So we lost 15% on the 2200, 17, 10, 7, and 9. Right, we're going to move on to a game now. We're going to go into Genshin Impact and see how long these can last here. Okay, and there goes the HN1 with a rather respectable 7 hours and 33 minutes. Okay, so after an hour of Genshin, we are quite low now. We're down to 6% left on the 2200, which is quite surprising it's stayed this long. But it did lose 19%. We lost 24% on the HN2, 18 on the HN3, 22 on the 2400. Now let's do a bit of YouTube for a bit of a break, and we'll come back after an hour of YouTube. Okay, and there goes the 2200 with a score of 8 hours and 25 minutes, which is nearly an hour longer than the 8gen1. So not quite sure how it managed that, but that was the score we got here. Okay, so after an hour of YouTube, we've lost 10% on the HN2, 7 on both of the S24 Ultras. Right, next up, we're going to go into PUBG. Right, there goes our S23 Ultra with the HN2 with a very respectable 9 hours and 57 minutes. So with that gone, the S24 Ultra lost 7% and the 2400 lost 8%. So for the last part of the test, we're just going to run through a prime video here, and you can see as I've been talking, the Exynos 2400 has finally died with a score of 10 hours and 57 minutes. Okay, so the final scores are in. So going from bottom to top, we have the HN1 with a score of 7 hours and 33 minutes. Followed closely by the Exynos 2200 with 8 hours and 25 minutes, followed by the S23 Ultra with 9 hours and 57 minutes. And an hour later, we had the 2400, and the ultimate winner here is the HN3 with a staggering 13 hours and 18 minutes. So we can put some different numbers on the screen now, and we can see how much better the S24 Ultra is compared to the others. You can see how much extra battery life you can get, so an extra 3 hours and 21 compared to the S23 Ultra. If we go down to the S22 Ultra Snapdragon variant, that's a plus 5 hours and 45 minutes difference, which is quite staggering really. It's also a plus 2 hours and 21 better than the 2400, with its just slightly smaller battery, so that's saying something about the processor there, and a nice 4 hours 18 minutes better than the Exynos 2200. We'll put the percentage on the screen as well. We've got 58%, 76, 33, and 21. So yeah, the fact that the 24 Ultra is 33% better than the S23 Ultra is quite amazing indeed. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like, subscribe, leave your scores down below as well. Don't forget, this isn't going to be a sort of normal day use of your phone. This is me running the phones non-stop from start to end, which is not really what you do during the day, but just give you an idea as to how much each app will use on each of the different variants of these phones. So yeah, I hope it's useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got some speed and gaming tests coming up soon as well, so be sure to hit the bell notification to be notified when those come out.